Now, knowing you, I know that you're aware of the things that people are saying. You're moving up in two-weight classes. You're the smaller man. Whatever you do, Terence Crawford, don't exchange against him. What do you feel you have to do?
Be myself. I'm 41-0 for.
Was undefeated for the last half of his career.
For more than 20 years, Floyd Mayweather's perfect 50-0 record stood as untouchable, a symbol of boxing immortality. He was the Phantom of the Ring, a defensive genius who made legends look like amateurs. But then came one night that changed everything. One electrifying statement from the only man to share the ring with both Mayweather and his rival sent shockwaves through the sport, shaking the very foundation of Floyd's legacy. The argument was no longer about who was greater. It was about whether Mayweather's entire era had just been eclipsed. That firestorm ignited the instant Terence Crawford hand was raised in victory over Canelo Alvarez, after a masterclass performance many believed could never be achieved.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion, 3 times over, 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, masterful fight.
But the true bombshell dropped at the post-fight press conference. With the world's media watching closely, Canelo was asked to compare Crawford to his former opponent, Floyd Mayweather. Without hesitation, he delivered a blunt response that sent shockwaves through boxing.
If you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence Bud Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Coming from the only fighter alive to have shared the ring with both men, this wasn't just an opinion. It was a bombshell. A single sentence that sent shockwaves through the sport and reignited a debate that had been simmering for years. And it wasn't long before one of boxing's loudest voices stepped into the fire. Stephen A. Smith, watching from the sidelines, was stunned by what he saw. Like many, he expected Crawford to rely on his technical brilliance, to stay on the outside and outbox the bigger, stronger man. But that's not how the story unfolded.
Well, I appreciate Crawford making my prediction come through. Coming into the fight, I had him winning by decision. I thought he was a superior boxer. I thought he would be able to take a punch. And as long as he didn't stay there and exchange with Canelo, I thought he could do it. What surprised me is that there were times during the fight, he did stand there and exchange with Canelo and took it. Took some body shots to the liver, took some headshots, exchanged, and still ended up winning this fight. I thought from the 8th round on, he just put on a boxing clinic. But I gotta give credit where credit is due. Crawford deserved to win the fight.
Smith was left astonished. Crawford hadn't just survived. He had marched straight into the fire, trading blow for blow with Canelo and proving he carried more than skill. He carried grit. As Smith put it, what I didn't expect was for him to stand in there, exchange, and survive. And survive he did, on multiple occasions. Breaking down the fight, Smith revealed he had it scored 5-4 in Crawford's favor after 9, before Crawford unleashed a boxing masterclass to dominate the final 3 rounds. He absorbed Canelo's thunderous power, answered back with precision, and thrived in moments where any smaller man was expected to crumble.
Crawford is a special fighter because he's got a mean streak. He doesn't back up from anything. He's usually the superior boxer in the ring. He finds a way to win. No matter who he's going up against, no matter what power you have, what boxing skills you have, he is truly a generational kind of fighter. He wants to go in the ring and not just beat beat you, but show you he was a better man. And he's now going to believe that just a knockout does that. He likes outboxing you and showing you that his skill level is superior to yours. And he showed it tonight.
Stephen A. hailed it as a masterclass, a performance for the ages. But even as he praised Crawford's brilliance, he stopped short of crowning a new king. In his mind, there was still another kind of master, a phantom in the ring, a defensive ghost whose artistry remained untouched. For all of Crawford's grit and greatness, he wasn't ready to say Bud had surpassed Mayweather.
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career with one hand. He constantly broke his hand.
Yeah.
He would go into a ring knowing he had no shot at knocking somebody out because his hands were hurt too much, and literally walked in the ring and said, I'm going to embarrass you and humiliate you by showing the world you can't hit me.
This was the moment Stephen A. Smith drew the line, making a crucial distinction that shifted the entire debate. He reminded the world that Floyd Mayweather was no ordinary fighter. He was a defensive enigma, a ring magician whose entire philosophy was built on winning without getting hit. With hands that had become notoriously brittle in the second half of his career, Floyd knew he couldn't depend on raw knockout power. This wasn't speculation. It was a well-documented reality that shaped the way he fought.
Floyd Mayweather looks me in my face and he says, I'm going to take him out about the 8th or 9th round. And I said, your hand's always broken. You ain't known for your punching power since you moved up from lightweight to welterweight. Why are you so sure you're going to do this? He said, Stephen A., he's a UFC fighter. He said, and he's a striker. He's accustomed to coming at you and throwing punches. What he's not accustomed to doing is punching while he's throwing backwards, while he's moving backwards and pushing you off of him. He says, I'm going to walk right into him and stay at his chest. He's going to have to push me off in order to throw his punches. He said he's going to circle in the ring. He said by around 4 or 5, he's not going to have any legs. He's going to be done. And he said, and I'll just toy with him and keep him around until around the 8th or the 9th round. And that is exactly what Floyd Money Mayweather did. He told me exactly what he was going to do, and he did it.
Mayweather himself admitted as much, openly acknowledging that his hands were real brittle. He even revealed that before the Conor McGregor fight, the damage was so severe he couldn't spar for an entire month leading up to it.
You hurt your hand? Huh? I thought you hurt your hand. That's what I saw. Okay. All right. Relax, baby. The job is done already. Put in a bucket of ice. Yeah. I'll get a bucket of ice.
I'm saying that Shane hit me with a hell of a shot. Okay. Actually, 2 shots.
Okay.
But even in that particular round, what I said to Shane was this. I was like,
You just said something to him when you grabbed him.
I said, you gotta kill me.
Oh shit. I wasn't ready.
I said that was a good one. And I said that was a good one, but you gotta kill me.
Wow.
I said you gotta kill me. And then I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
To add an even more controversial layer, reports have long suggested that in the latter half of his career, Mayweather chose to fight almost exclusively in Las Vegas, one of the few places where fighters were permitted to use numbing injections like xylocaine to manage hand pain. The implication was clear. His brittle hands weren't just a minor inconvenience. They were a strategic factor in where and how he fought. Yet even with those limitations, Mayweather transformed himself into something else entirely, untouchable.
Rocky Marciano was 49-0. Before Floyd got to 50-0, he was the heavyweight champ. Did anyone ever consider Rocky Marciano the GOAT? No, not seriously, no. Why would Floyd be considered the GOAT? Because he beat more fighters than Rocky did, more great ones? That's true. But really, Floyd was careful in the way he selected opponents. Don't get that twisted. It's not that Floyd didn't fight a lot of great fighters. He did. It's not that I don't think he would have beaten a lot of the tougher fighters that he fought. I think he probably would have, but he didn't do it. He waited. He waited until Pacquiao wasn't at his best anymore. He didn't fight Margarito when Margarito was tearing everyone up. He waited for the right time to fight people. He got paid twice as much for fighting Pacquiao in a less dangerous fight than he would have had he fought him when everyone wanted to see him fight. Floyd is among the all-time greats, but he ain't number one.
That perspective was echoed by respected trainer Greg Hackett, who insisted that the version of Floyd who fought Canelo was the definition of a complete fighter, disciplined, polished, and unshakable in style. In contrast, he compared Crawford's performance to something closer to a Deontay Wilder approach.
I can't say he capping. I can't, because I don't know what he felt. But when I heard that, what I think is, when Floyd beat me, I was 23, I wasn't polished. When Bud beat me, I was the man. I was the man. And he beat me fair and square. He beat me at my game and he beat me at his game. That's why Canelo said that. Do I believe that? It's tough to believe. But I can only take Canelo's word because he's the man that's been in the ring with both of them. But I understand why he said it. I was a kid when I fought Floyd. He wasn't a kid literally, but he was young. He was young. There was a lot he didn't know. There was a lot he didn't understand about boxing that he later on learned and got better. But Bud beat the better version of me, even though it's the ran down version. I'm saying that because it is some wear and tear there with Canelo. I've been saying it the whole time. When a guy got almost 70 fights in current time, with all those big camps he's been doing and all that, trust me, it's some wear and tear there. I'm not making excuses for Canelo. I'm just saying.
I don't know. That's what it gives it that air.
I also think you got to remember when you talking about a Mexican fighter, they big on punishment. He might also feel Crawford punches harder than Floyd and took more chances than Floyd took. Floyd really was super speed that night. He wanted everything speed, and it irritated Canelo because Canelo couldn't do what he wanted to do, and he looked nothing like himself. Like I said, I think it was just times where Canelo felt like, damn, I could have had it. With Floyd, I think he felt like paralyzed. Like, damn, I can't catch this motherfucker. He's too fast. But with Crawford, I felt like he maybe was saying, damn, I could have, if I would have threw this, or if I would have did that. You know what I mean? Because it was times Crawford sat there and caught a punch and countered back. You know what I'm saying? He let Canelo throw, like, go ahead, throw your shit. He caught that shit, boom, he come right back with the hook. Same shot he caught Earl with. He was touching Canelo with some of that same shit, man. And it was just like, and it was times where Crawford was imposing himself on Canelo. He was stepping to Canelo at times. He didn't do it the whole fight, but I'm just saying it was times he stepped to him. Floyd did too, but Floyd just was so fast, so much faster. And the education was like totally different. Like when Canelo fought Floyd, Canelo was in middle school. He wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Floyd by that time was already a Harvard graduate. You know what I'm saying? So.
In Stephen A. Smith's own words.
I can't say that. I think that Floyd Mayweather was such a magician defensively. And we have to look at Floyd Money Mayweather in this regard. Once he moved up to welterweight, his hands were always damaged. So he kind of knew he wasn't going to be able to knock you out for the most part. And still, he walked into the ring and put on masterful performances because he was so superior, skill-wise and defensively. You can't say enough. Tonight with Crawford, for example, we saw him take a punch on several occasions. With Floyd, we didn't see that too often because you couldn't hit him. That's the difference.
Crawford took those punches from Canelo, no question about it. He showed the chin, he showed the toughness. But here's the deal, Stephen A. is saying the very fact that Crawford had to prove his chin, had to eat those shots, that's what separates him from Floyd Money Mayweather. Floyd didn't just survive, he neutralized. And before this debate spirals out of control, let's be real, this isn't just about skills, this is about eras. Even Crawford himself said it best. Floyd was the best of his era, and I'm the best of mine.
He just got something that I want.
And it's not just the title, it's what else?
It's everything. He got everything. And I'm coming to get it.
And when you beat him, you'll have everything.
That's right.
See, this is where the conversation gets real nuanced. Greatness ain't a straight line. It's not one man forever. It's tied to the time, to the era you dominate. And let's not forget, age matters. Jeff Mayweather himself, Floyd's uncle, reminded everybody, Floyd was 36 years old when he fought that young, hungry Canelo. He wasn't even in his prime anymore. So how in the world are we supposed to take that version of Floyd and stack it up against a peak Terence Bud Crawford going at a fully seasoned Canelo? That's not apples to apples. That's two completely different fights.
Well, also if we remember, Canelo was that time was a razor-thin decision. Floyd won, majority decision. C.J. Ross had it, what a lot of people had as a draw. And then the other 2 judges scored it for Floyd, of course. And that was a Floyd at the top of his game with a very green Canelo with very little experience. He still took him, into deep water. So. Yeah, he was. Very, very young in the game, obviously. Yeah, but Floyd was clearly at the top of his career, and Canelo had fought a lot of people,
So really, it ain't about who's better head-to-head. No. The truth is this. It's about 2 kings, each ruling their own kingdom, their own distinct era in boxing history.
We've had a lot of comparisons between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We've even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in a fight between Terence and Floyd. And I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who will win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd will win that
Yes,
fight.
sir. I love you, Terence.
Always figures it out.
Yeah,
he's a chess master.
Yeah, his IQ in
But
that
the funny
success
thing
is
about
crazy.
it is Terence has been the only other guy that people can say he always figures it out. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But you gotta have an OG somewhere.
Everybody else. Yeah.
There's an OG somewhere.
Somebody got a pioneer, right?
Figure
Yeah,
out.
you gotta
There's
do
an
it.
OG you can't out-figure out somewhere. And I just believe Floyd is that OG you can't out-figure out.
Listen, we can go back and forth all day about primes, about defensive brilliance, about who slip punches better. That debate is complicated. But let me tell you what's not complicated, what's not up for debate. Terence "Bud" Crawford has a historic achievement on his resume that Floyd money Mayweather never even sniffed. Period.
In accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
By beating Canelo Alvarez, Terence "Bud" Crawford did something no man in the history of boxing had ever done before. He became the first male fighter to be undisputed champion in 3 separate weight classes. 3. That's not just history, that's immortality. In the moment it happened, Turki Alalshik, one of the most influential voices in modern boxing, called Crawford the fighter of the century. Think about that for a second. Now, yes, Floyd money Mayweather was a 5-division champion. That's incredible. Nobody's taking that away from him. But let's be very clear. He was never undisputed in any of them. He never collected all 4 belts. Crawford? He cleaned out 3 entire divisions. Every belt, every champion, every obstacle. That ain't luck. That's meticulous preparation. That's a training camp designed for war. Crawford himself said it. His team focused on building his strength so that no matter what Canelo threw, his body was ready. And guess what? It worked. That one etched his name in the history books with a distinction that even Mayweather cannot claim. But here's the twist. It's not just about the belts. It's about the paths they took to greatness. Floyd Mayweather wasn't just a fighter. He was the CEO of his own brand. As Max Kellerman has said for years, once Floyd moved up from lightweight, his career turned into a masterclass in strategy. He picked the fights, he picked the timing, he controlled the business from top to bottom. Every move he made was calculated, so the reward always outweighed the risk.
It's wild, because if you look at Floyd's resume, it's much deeper than Crawford's. And Floyd was faster, and he had a better defense and all that stuff. But Floyd picked and chose when he fought guys, especially once he left lightweight. He wiped out the junior welterweights, bring them. Lightweight, he jumps up to Jose Luis Castillo first thing. A lot of people think he lost the first fight, I didn't, but then he won the rematch. But once he left lightweight, he was careful about when he fought guys. So even though his resume is deeper with names, people remember, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times.
But let me tell you something. That strategy Floyd built his empire on, the new generation ain't buying it. Ryan Garcia, one of the biggest stars of today, came out swinging with a shocking take. He said Floyd Mayweather didn't just master the sweet science, he mastered the art of timing, knowing exactly when to fight somebody, and more importantly, when not to. Garcia flat out accused him of changing the game for the worse by sidestepping fighters when they were at their absolute prime.
Y'all talking about this kid Ryan Garcia. Tank got his followers from kicking ass. Ryan Garcia got his followers from YouTubers. There's a difference. So you want to be a YouTuber or you want to be a fighter? Tank is a fighter.
How did Javante know that my rib got separated while I was in the fight? Or before the fight? How do you think they got the information? You gotta pay. Who do you think told me that they paid? So I know how much money it takes to betray Ryan Garcia. I know a little bit.
Crawford, on the other hand, is a straight-up force of nature. The man don't duck smoke. He looks for it. He's been calling out the best for years, willing to fight anybody, anytime, anywhere just to prove his dominance. And when you look at a prime versus prime matchup, the numbers tell a story you cannot ignore. Crawford stands an inch taller, but more importantly, he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. In a technical chess match, that's massive. That's the kind of edge that even a prime Floyd Mayweather would have had problems dealing with. And this ain't just hype. Analysts, former champs, the whole boxing community have seen it. Shane Mosley himself laid it out plain.
I think Crawford is better. It would have been a tough fight, but I think Crawford would have the edge over Mayweather because of the long arms and because he's bigger. But Mayweather is definitely a technician. I mean, like Crawford said, Mayweather has his era, and Crawford, this is his era.
While Floyd Mayweather was the architect, building a fortress so flawless you couldn't find a crack, Terence "Bud" Crawford has been the conqueror, storming into new territory and taking it all by force. But let's keep it real. Not everybody's buying the comparison. A loud group of critics in boxing circles flat out refused to put them in the same breath. One analyst didn't sugarcoat a thing, saying Terence Crawford is not Floyd Mayweather. They're just both black. That's the only similarity they have. And their reasoning? Crawford enjoys the scrap. He gets clipped, sticks his tongue out, dares you to hit him again, sometimes fights with his hands down, and is more than willing to trade in the pocket. Floyd? Totally different philosophy. He was quicker, sharper, and possessed a defensive IQ so otherworldly that some argue it's the best we've ever seen. To those critics, these comparisons aren't about skill, they're about hype. Fans desperate to crown the next king after Floyd walked away with that 50-0 dot, and as if the in-ring debate wasn't enough, the Crawford-Canelo super fight came wrapped in its own storm of controversy. Before the first punch was even thrown, whispers of a judging scandal spread like wildfire. The officials? The same ones who scored Manny Pacquiao's infamous draw, raising red flags that Canelo might benefit again. Then, just to pour gasoline on the fire, streamer Aiden Ross found himself in the middle of a gambling scandal. He had $1 million riding on Canelo, but after one mysterious phone call, he flipped his bet to Crawford at the last second. Allegations of insider knowledge? They were everywhere. The drama wasn't just inside the ring. It was bleeding into the business, the betting, the entire spectacle.
Jordan was switching the bat.
Oh!
We're definitely switching our bat.
What? What you mean?
No.
Don't stay with Canelo.
I'm going Crawford.
If he's saying that, everybody.
All of this only fueled the conspiracy theories, adding another layer of intrigue to what will forever be remembered as Crawford's historic victory. So now the question is, where does that leave us? On one side, you've got Floyd "Money" Mayweather, the undefeated defensive genius, the strategic mastermind who built not just a perfect record, but a financial empire. On the other side, Terence "Bud" Crawford, the relentless warrior, the man who walked through fire and became the first fighter in history to conquer 3 divisions completely. And Stephen A. Smith's warning wasn't just about whether these two should fight. It was about the definition of greatness itself. Is greatness the untouchable artist who never let us see a flaw? Or is it the fearless conqueror who left no mountain unclimbed, no belt unclaimed, and no challenge unanswered? The truth? The final answer may not live in their records. It lives in the way they forced us to believe the impossible was possible inside that ring.